Oh man. Oh, the holiday party was great, man. Oh, I feel refreshed, renewed, and ready for the new year. I mean, oh man, I cannot tell you how ridiculous that holiday party was. Ah, so, what's up on my review schedule for this year? Let's see. Here we go. The 2019 Hellboy, Wonder Woman 84, and Mortal Kombat. Well, new year, but same old shit. Because these are some pretty fucking bad movies. And I am in the wrong attire for this. I'm gonna fix that really quickly. Excuse me and pardon me for a moment. There we go. Much better. And as you can see, I got a haircut too. So hello and welcome to Multi-Movie Monday. I'm your host, Wade Universe. And when I'm not going around giving out shitty, terrible superhero movies to the boys and girls, spectacular ones that were already made, that'd be stupid. And if Hollywood thinks that they can make millions off of it, that's even more stupid. Hollywood make money off of remakes. And when did that ever happen? Anyways, today we are looking at Super Shit-tastic Day because, well, these are quite the Super Shit-tastic remakes, and I gotta hand it to Hollywood. I did not expect them to do this. Let me tell you a quick story before we get into the review. I was actually interested in all three of these movies. My sister, particularly my oldest one, said that Wonder Woman 84 was a pretty decent and good movie. At least she thought so. And when I saw it, I thought it was pretty much stupid. And it still is. But we're going to start things off not too proudly with the 2019 remake of Hellboy. For those of you unaware, Hellboy is a comic book created by Mike Mignola for Dark Horse Comic. It has been adapted into 2 successful films, plus 2 successful animated films, with a possible 3rd film coming out probably next year. Or this year, rather. Either or. So, does this mean that this was one that everybody had been waiting for? No, because this is a hard R reboot of the franchise. But I have some mixed opinions about it. But knock some shit over and begin with Hellboy 2019. Our movie opens up in the Dark Ages. No, not 2020, the actual Dark Ages. The film opens up with King Arthur and his faithful wizard Merlin going up after Emilia Jovovich, who plays basically Nimue, the Blood Witch. Just let me say this real quick. The story for this film seems really spectacular, and I do mean that in all sincerity, trying to tie together the olden days of King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table, and also some other mythology that were combined in actual real life, which is really fantastic. Unfortunately, though, the movie loses the process of this really quickly once it begins with Hellboy. So, to make a long story short, Nimue brought in some monsters into the real world, and so she had to be sacrificed in order for the world to not go to the apocalypse. And King Arthur makes things a lot better, especially when Nimue decapitates everybody in the world while he slices the whole apart because King Arthur. It's not long before we go to Mexico to meet a wrestling Batman and also Hellboy played by Dave Harbour. I'll give it to Dave Harbour because he actually does a pretty decent job at playing Hellboy, something that cannot be easy and is a feat, but yet Harbour gives it his all. The film starts out strong while showing Hellboy being caring about his friends, something that is a very notable quote in every version of Hellboy. But unfortunately, Hellboy's friend has a case of the vampires, and, well, it turns out that Hellboy had to kill his one and only friend because, He's a vampire. After he killed his friend, peeled him on a stake, he gets drunk, and very much was shown how much that Hellboy really cared about humanity. Never mind that, though, we gotta go to the next awful choice of the movie. The father. Yep, played by Sir not the talented John Hurt, God rest his soul. It's Ian McShane, probably another actor who was very much not very good for the role as Professor Broom. In the original, John Hurt had a specific thing, I can't exactly say what it is, maybe his personality, that made him closer to Professor Broom and made him feel like the actual character off the page of a comic book, which really felt genuine. Also, John Hurt just had that voice that makes him so iconic. And Ian McShane, God bless him, I love him, he's a brilliant actor, should not have been the first choice for Professor Broom. That's when the movie really screws up. I'll give the remake this, though. I do love the father-son atmosphere between Ian McShane and Dave Harbour. It really feels sincere and is all around pretty damn good. Broom sends Hellboy off to England to join a group of troll hunters. I'm sorry, troll and giant hunters, just hunters in general. Again, the troll hunters or giant hunters was a great idea because it really gives off of the vibe of what Hellboy is really into and how this universe could have been expanded. But a plot twist that has been written in several other better movies, Hellboy gets attacked by the giant hunters, because Hellboy is the destroyer of the world, go figure. Hellboy, because he's immortal, technically, miraculously survives and is surprised that the giants have attacked and left him alive. Only for one of the ugliest CGI effects ever to hit movies happens. And this movie came out in 2019, people. Keep that in mind. Godzilla King of the Monsters, Alita Battle Angel, any other film that had CGI in it is laughing at how bad and terrible this one is. After getting the crap kicked out of him by the giant, he is soon rescued by a girl that remembers him since she was a baby named Alice. I gotta say, Alice is a really cool character for this movie and really plays off as a pretty good all-round character, and I actually do like her for this film. Unfortunately, the BPRD rushes in to save Hellboy, quote-unquote, save him, when we're introduced to another character of Hellboy's, Daimyo. BPRD agent Ben Daimyo, who's actually a pretty good character in this and an all-around cool guy. And if you can figure out what he is, you win a cookie. Oh yeah, just to get this out of the way really quick, Alice, when she was a baby, was replaced by this pigman, and when she was thrown by fairies, she acquired some supernatural powers. The supernatural powers that Alice can contact with spirits, but also that she can channel spirits through her and they come out of her mouth. Yeah, it's pretty disgusting. After Hellboy argues with his father about the importance of humanity and why he was left alive when he knows that he's an ideal weapon for destruction, he is soon kidnapped. Kidnapped by the Russian boogeyman or boogie woman herself, Baba Yaga, who was actually pretty cool to have in this film. Again, a great concept, but not great executed. Over a not-so-very-nice dinner, Baba Yaga explains that Nimue is resurrected and she plans on taking over the world because of course she does. Oh, and because I'm a nice guy and I don't want no people to throw up or get sick during this, the dinner scene, Hellboy and Baba Yaga eat child body parts. So I'm going to ignore that. Also the part with Nimue, she gets stitched back up and they show every little details, and I'm not going to show that either. And also Baba Yaga and Hellboy kiss in the most disgusting and grotesque fashion ever. So I'm not going to show that either. You can thank me in the comment section down below because, dear God, I love my subscribers and everything. And I'd hate to see you people yell at me saying, we got sick over what you showed us. Also, YouTube would be jumping down my throat if they ever discovered that in the video. So I'm taking safety precautions this new year, so what can I say except you're welcome. So after the visit with Baba Yaga, Hellboy just so happened to drop back on in and let his father know that he knows everything and is planning to go after Nimue. Unfortunately, Hellboy is way too late, and the destruction of the Earth has already started, even though it already started back in 2020. During the time, Nimue had made Pigboy, Pigman, I guess, and Hellboy and Pigboy fight. Oh yeah, it also turns out that Daimyo is a were-cheetah, I guess. So that's something too. Oh yes, something quote unquote important to tell people in this is that Hellboy in this movie is apparently a descendant of King Arthur. And that is a long, boring story that I don't want to tell you about, just watch the movie. So yes, Hellboy acquires a mighty sword of Excalibur, and well, Nimue tries to convince him to be the destroyer of the world, but it doesn't work out the way she intended. So after Hellboy has a talk with his father, he soon realizes that the world is not going to be destroyed by him and everything goes back to the way it was. However, 6 months later in Siberia, some things kick off with a secret organization that Hellboy has to overthrow. I will admit the ending scene of this is pretty damn awesome and it kind of makes the movie in a sense worth watching, but except one thing. One terrible thing.
Anyone know what that means?
It means sequel bait, darling. Something that you will never ever see, as it is already 2023 as of this video, and you have not gotten a sequel yet, and I hope to God that you do not. But I'll say my little rant until afterwards. Now moving on to Wonder Woman 84, the sequel to the original Wonder Woman. And you would think Wonder Woman was a very popular and very successful DC film at the time. So the sequel couldn't have been that terrible, right? Yeah, I'm sorry to say, but it really sucked. Wonder Woman 84 kinda starts out strong. We're beginning in a backstory with Themyscira, back when Diana was just a young girl competing in a competition with a lot of older women. And then we just teleport straight into the fucking 1980s like nothing has ever happened, and you should forget everything else because the director of this movie certainly had forgotten everything else too. Even though Wonder Woman in Justice League told Batman that she was inactive for a while, apparently no, she lied to Batman because, yeah, she was active for quite some time. Well, we get a pretty good Diana scene too, where that she's alone, but everybody else has somebody, but deep down inside, Diana still misses Steve and wishes that she still had him in her life. But the movie soon skips a beat when it introduces Cheetah into the category. Yep, this is Cheetah, and also there's another thing about a wishing stone, I guess. Make a long story short, you make a wish on this thing, and then suddenly, I guess, you can just become whatever that you want to be. It's really stupid and very tacked in the movie, so moving on. Corporate greedy side story about one Maxwell Lord. Maxwell is running a huge oil and financial business, and when he gets to rock, you can imagine what he does. Say, you know the Wes Craven Wishmaster movie that a lot of Wes Craven fans tend to love/hate? Yeah, it's a lot like that, so just keep that in mind. It's a lot like Wes Craven's Wishmaster. But they try to make Maxwell Lord an understanding and relatable character by giving him a son. Whether he had it in the comics or not, I have no memory, and feel free to tell me. Oh yeah, and because Diana made a wish on a stone, Steve is back in her life. Because something magic something. So technically the movie from this point on would become like Back to the Future, where it has a kid from the past into the future, and it's not as good as Back to the Future is, so moving on. So because of what Maxwell Lord did, he's suddenly ruining the world, unlike a certain president of ours, and Wonder Woman has to stop him because Wendy is the superhero of the movie. And for some stupid reason, Wonder Woman wears the Golden Eagle armor that she had in the comics and sometimes wore in like some video games and other appearances, and for no reason she wears it here. Should not surprise you that Wonder Woman does indeed fight Cheetah. And Cheetah looks fucking ridiculous in this film because why? So to sum it up, Wonder Woman had to sacrifice everything that she loved in the world in order to save it because that was supposed to be the whole message of the movie that you can't always have what you want. And so the movie ends on Christmas with the happy message that Wonder Woman will move on from her life and still become the Wonder Woman of the ages that everybody's supposed to love and respect. And while the movie ends with Wonder Woman flying through the air, it happens to have one thing that kind of saves it: a guest cameo.
Miss Asteria. Asteria. Wow. It's a beautiful name. It's from my culture. I can't thank you enough. I mean, you saved my daughter.
I'm sorry if it felt like I really moved fast through that. It just not a whole lot happens in the movie, and the movie is almost 3 hours long. Yeah. So, 2.5 hours of basically nothing good happening in that movie, unfortunately. Our final movie is based on a movie that I like from the 90s and also a famous video game franchise that I just happen to love: Mortal Kombat. This came out in 2020 and happened to be one of the, I guess, highest grossing and successful movies at the time. And how did it feel to me? Eh, but I still didn't like it. Mortal Kombat unfortunately begins with the unfaithful backstory of one Hanzo Masashi, aka Scorpion. So after the Hanzo Hisashi backstory, we're introduced to Ko Yun, someone who was never in the movies but is now in this one. Cole has a wife and daughter, and he's an unsuccessful MMA fighter, in fact being quoted as the punching bag. Things take a turn for the worse when it turns out that Sub-Zero, Bihan, is attacking Ko Yun and his family. Turns out Cole is one of the quote-unquote chosen ones. He has a dragon tattoo tacked on because Mortal Kombat, and this makes him a great fighter. So no, the Mortal Kombat movie is not focused on Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, Johnny Cage, or anybody cool. It's focused on the dumbass known as Cole Yun. Unfortunately, Shang Tsung invites himself to the party, and they all have a drastic fight because it's Shang fucking Tsung. Shang Tsung's plan is to take over Earthrealm because somebody had been paying attention to the video games, and he plans to do so with the help of Cabal and Melina. Yes, that's supposed to be Melina. Unfortunately, he sends Goro the Mighty after Cole Yun because, hey, Goro had to fit in this movie somehow, I guess. It turns out Cole somehow develops superpowers and he gets a shield of armor around him and he's able to defeat Goro because of the will of his family, I suppose. Don't look at me. I didn't write this shit. I can barely even watch it, let alone review it, and I wouldn't even write a Mortal Kombat movie this shitty. And besides, they ruined Sonya. She's supposed to have big bazoombas. I'm shutting up now. So, to make a long story short, Cole eventually goes back to Earthrealm where unfortunately Sub-Zero is attacking, and guess who happens to find him? So, a not so awesome fight breaks out between Cole and Sub-Zero. And yeah, it should have been better, and yet it was way worse when someone else shows up. Yeah, Scorpion. Scorpion suddenly showed the fuck up out of nowhere and beat the shit out of Sub-Zero because Scorpion needed revenge against Sub-Zero, blah 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 blah. So the movie ends with Ko Yun being sent out from Raiden to go and find one of the other chosen ones, leaving on an Easter egg that Johnny Cage will be in the supposed sequel. All 3 of these movies suck ass. And you know what's the worst part? The best one, I feel, in my opinion, is the 2019 Hellboy. And you're talking to a fan of the Guillermo del Toro films. But this is better than these. But allow me to explain how Hellboy just certainly measured up compared to his unworthy counterparts. While Hellboy does seem like it would be the worst choice for this type of thing, Hellboy honestly feels like the most proud and the most successful, bringing it closer to the comics. It is by no means perfect, and it misses its mark very heavily on trying to be more successful than the Del Toro films, but it does have honor in what it's trying to do. I'll give it this. If the story was a little bit better, a little bit more connected, and maybe a little bit more finesse, Hellboy to me would be the greatest movie to come out and the great successful. Wonder Woman 84 had heart and had merit to be a much better and successful film, and unfortunately it falls apart at that margin, and it falls apart very hard. Yeah, some of the fight scenes and some of the other scenes are pretty damn impressive, but that does not stand for the rest of the movie, which ends up falling apart again pretty well quickly, even before the 2 hour mark. If you're a fan of Wonder Woman 84, then good for you and more power to you, and you're free to like what you like, but unfortunately for me, I just really hated Wonder Woman 84, especially being a fan of the original. And Mortal Kombat was just plain damn boring. There was not much else I can say except it had some unique fight scenes, but all in all, was just fucking boring. So you know how I said before that I always try to be optimistic when it comes to my movie reviews, and I try to look for the bad and the good? Well, unfortunately, especially for these 3 films, they're not very much anything that I can really say. Hellboy probably had the best story, and while it's not all together or fully falling apart like the other two, it still has a pretty good story ideas, but it's not a very good story, all things considered. But it's the best that I've seen, and considering that I watched this movie 3 times, it still feels like this is the better of the bunch. I wanted Wonder Woman 84 to be good. Hell, I had high hopes for it. But unfortunately, it fell apart way too fast on me, especially, like I said, before the 2 hour mark. And really, except for the Linda Carter cameo at the end, was not as good. Mortal Kombat is a very simple movie that wanted to get off on mostly the great fight scenes and glorious special effects. And I'll give you this, they're very nice to look at, especially the fight scenes. But unfortunately, the movie, again, doesn't have a very good story, and I'm supposed to care about Cole Young? I don't even know who this guy is, so let alone why should I care about him? Well, unfortunately, this video is running a little bit too long. Come back next week where we'll be taking a look at strangers in a familiar world. And we'll be taking a look at 3 movies that had to deal with people who are in kind of a familiar setting. So, I hope you like, comment, and subscribe for more on this. Come back next week for Strangers in a Familiar World. And remember, 20 more Mondays, 20 more movies, and until next time.